Now, in this video, we are going to continue with the AddVue product, that is AddVue.js product, whereby we are going to be adding a product to this particular Vue component. So far we have dealt with the login and the registration. So now we can go and embark on the four types of components that we created last time. Remember, we created the add product, the edit, and then the product details and the product list. So these are now the remaining components that we shall now look at as we finish up with our Laravel and Vue e-commerce app. Now here we are just going to come up with a template. And remember, this is the structure for Vue. We have template, we have script, and then lastly we have the stylings. So the first part we are going to have is so we are going to make this template. So in the add product is where we now need to submit data into our database, of course, through use of an API. So within the template here, I'm going to have the form. Then I'm going to have form at submit. And then there we are going to have, of course, it's just form dot prevent. Then from there we have now we're going to define something here. So I'm going to define submit form like this, and then I'm going to have class which is going to be equal to add product. So this one is just for the stylings within our CSS. All right, so add should be a form like this, and then down there let's continue. So here we're going to have, so basically what you need to know about the submit.prevent, it is just it prevents the default form submission, and in this case it is going to call the submit form method instead. So we are just defining this submit form as a method in which this submit form is going to be called once we get into our script part. Okay, so the other part here we need to do is after the form we need to have an input. And in this case, you're going to have an input class with input field. So I'm going to give it an input field CSS. Then here I'm going to declare a V model. Remember, a V model is just for two-way data binding. Then here I'm going to have a placeholder. Then this one is going to say product name. So we have something like that. And then down there, what I'm going to have is an error message when, in this case, this first input is for, of course, the person to input his or her name. So here, in case it tries to submit the form without giving a name, of course, we need to display an error message. So here we're going to use something we call VIF within Vue. You can check it within the documentation. So I'm going to declare V, then VIF, which is this one here. And then here I'm going to have something like this. So I'm going to have error.name. So error.name is the one, actually this should be caps. And then here I'm going to have a class. And then this class is going to be error in this way. So what we have here is, then here there's something before explain further. So here we have error.name like this. Now, what we mean here is errors.name is a VIF. The VIF, of course, is for conditional rendering. So what we want to know here is that if there is no name that has been keyed by the user, then we are going to call errors.name. So the errors is going to be defined within our script, so that is going to carry any errors. For example, an error such as you need to input your name, something like that. So class, this is just for styling, and then this is the one that is going to input or is going to throw the errors that we're going to define within our script, just in a few. So that is the first part. The other one you're also going to do is for, so let me just copy this one. So you're also going to do for, so here you're going to have, remember when you created this application, we had name, description, and price. So these are still the same things that we are defining within our view. So errors.description, and then here the class is going to be the same. Here we are just going to change this to description like that. Then down here we are going to have the last one, which should be the price. Actually, so that is description, but we forgot something here. Very sorry, forgot something here. So here we need to have, of course, the input field for the description here. So to have that, so this is description. So that is description. So we are going to have description as our input field. So under our Vue model, we're going to have the description there, and then here we're going to have product description. Okay, and then here, so that is the input field, then description, and then down here, I'm going to copy these two of them. Then I'm going to add this for the input field for the price. So for the price here, we are going to have errors dot price. So we are going to add this errors dot price. So the Vue model here is going to change here to price. So what am I doing here? Okay, so here we are going to have okay, so that is price, and then so placeholder is going to be product uh, price, like that. Now the reason is why you can see this kind of an error message right now is because it says property errors does not exist. Of course, it's because they are part of the Vue model, and the reason they are there is because we need the two-way data binding. So that is going to be defined in our script. So you may be wondering why. So down here, we're going to have a button. Then this button is going to be button type, and the type is going to be submit. And then here we're going to have a class. So this class is submit that. Then here we're going to have add product, like that. Okay, so add product, because once the person clicks on the submit button, of course the submit dot prevent using the method submit form is going to be triggered. Okay, so that is what we have there. So let's go down here to script part. So I'm going to have the script like this. Now the first thing within the script you are going to do is to import the Axios, because we are using Axios to make our HTTP request. So so this is at Axios, like that, and then here we need to have this ports in that way. Then we close this. Okay, so it's going to be discovered just in a few. Now export default so that we can make our application available. So the first thing here we're going to do is what we call component data. So here you're going to return the three fields: the name, description, and price. So here I'm going to define this like this. So we're going to have data. Then within this data, we're going to have a return. So the return here is just, so the first thing here is going to do is just to return what we call the product details here. So we're going to have something like this. So on the product details here, the first thing is going to be its name. So we're going to have name like this. And then we are going to have description. So description is also going to be the same way. And then lastly, we're going to have is the price like this. And then we're going to have that. Sorry, this is not, this should be that way. Okay, so after that, the next part is just to capture the errors within this. So here the validation errors you're going to get, and these errors are the ones which are coming from this part here. You can see this now red lines have gone. So here, once we get the errors, which are we are now that we are going to get from our user in case he doesn't fill any of these particular details here, that is the product details, then we are going to declare this validation errors. Then here we are going to declare it as empty in this way. So empty simply means that it's going to receive the errors that you're going to get. Now that tells me that here, let's have these two like that. So this one should be that way. Now down here, we're going to have the methods. And then on the methods here, we're going to define something. Now the first method here we're going to define here is validate. Then here we're going to say validate input. So that is the first method we define. Then you have the curly braces. So validate input is, it's going to validate the input field for us. So in this case here, we're going to have const which is going to be errors. And then, so we are defining cost errors, and then here we set it into this way. So basically here on the validate input, we want to now to say something like, if the person doesn't fill the name, the name is required. So something like that. So the errors object, of course, here is just, that is the const errors. It's an error object. Is the one that is going to receive that. So down here, I'm going to have an if, and this one is going to say if this dot name. So remember, this is referring to this name here. So if this dot name, and then here we have errors dot name, then we're going to say name is required. So that is what we have. Now, I believe you're able to understand this. So this dot name means you are referencing this. Remember, data is just returning for us whatever is going to be inputted here is what is going to be returned here. So when you say this, so this sign here, it means if the name is not provided, then give this as the error. And of course, there is something here. Remember, we defined this as errors.name. So that is what is now going to be thrown in this errors.name here. So I believe that is easy enough to understand. Okay, now the next one, of course, we need now for price and description. So we're going to have this code, and this is going to reference now the description. We are going to say errors.description like that, and then here we're going to say description is required as well. So description there is required, and then let's go to the last one, which should be if we validate the product price. So let me copy also this one. But now for the price is going to be a bit different because the price is a number. So here we're going still to have the same thing. If the price is not provided, price value, then here we're going to have something. We're going to say here something like this. So let me remove that one. So we're going to use these two pipe signs, which means and if the price is not provided, or the price value, that is the whatever is given by the user. So here we say is not an a, should be this one here. So this one means it's not a number, it's a JavaScript function. Then here we're going to have now this, we're going to say this dot price, this dot price. So if price is not provided, and then is not a number, meaning this dot price, of course this we are referencing that variable there, then we are going to have this. So here we need to going to have errors dot description like that, and then here we're going to say something like, we're going to say something like this. We're going to say price is required and must be a number. I remember I showed you this at the start of this when I was showing you the demo product, and we were able to see that the price, it must be a number. So this one is just comparing. So if this is not the price is not provided, then at the same time it is not a number. So we're going to say that we're going to throw that particular error message, and then here we're going to call return. Here we're going to say if we get those errors, then don't proceed with the submission of the data. First, those errors have to be solved. So return the errors. Right, so that is it. And then the second part here now we're going to do is, now I'm going to declare async. Remember we used async, for example, in our login.view when we wanted to call this, that is when we were posting data into our database using the login credentials, that is email and then password. We used async. So here I'm also going to use async here. So I'm going to have something like this. So remember, async goes with await, and here I'm going to have async submit form like this, and then here I'm going to have so the first thing here, I'm going to validate the input fields using, of course, the validate input, the one we just defined here. So here I'm going to have something like this: const errors like this is equals to validate input. So here what we are doing, we are calling this dot validate input, which is the method we just defined above. And then we're going to say if there are validation errors, then we are going to update the data property and then we stop the execution. So this is what I mean. So if I say if the caps there object dot error dot keys. So this is a JavaScript script function. You may want to check some of my a tutorial I did on JavaScript where I explained what we mean by object.keys and so many other JavaScript functionality. So here we call length, and then here length we're going to give it greater than then is here greater than 0. So what we mean here is that the object.keys is like we are counting how many errors we have within our data that have been returned here. So if length is greater than 0, it means that we are checking, at least we should be able to find an error. At least if there's an error, then something has to be returned here. So that's why we call this return like this. So we return, and this means we stop our execution, because if it is greater than 0, it means that there are errors which have been discovered here. So that's what we mean in this case. So that is it on that part. So sorry, for return, then this should be this dot errors sorry, this equals to errors like this. So we have sorry, okay, so that is what we have, and then we can close this one this way. So and then we say return. So return means we stop. Here this means we just stop the execution, then we return those errors. Now sync works with await. So what you need to know here is that once we use the sync, we need to use await, and here I'm going to define a try catch block here. So this try catch block here is going to do something. So here we're going to say await. So we have await, and then we're going to call Axios. You can see the moment we call Axios is now this part here has now been discovered, because now we are using Axios. So Axios, and then we're going to say dot post, because we are adding. In other words, you're submitting data to the database. So here we're going to have products like this. Then here we're going to have something like this. So you try, and then so basically we are just making a post request to our API so that we can add the product database through through an API here. So here we're going to call this .name, because that means if. So let me explain something here. What is happening here is that if this submit form, remember we defined it here. So when the person clicks here, this method is going to be called. And when it is called, what it is going to do is going to check if there are any errors. And by doing that, it's going to check through this method that we have defined here, whereby it is going to check if there are any errors and then return them. Once there is no error and the person has inputted these 3 fields, now we are using a sync so that we can, of course, call the make call. So here we make a call. So once we make that call here, because it is now the submit form, we check if there are, of course, if there are errors, and then that is length is greater than 0, at least if there is an error, so that they are returned here. If there are not errors, then now we go to the await. So the await, what it is doing, it is just waiting if there are no errors so that it can execute now the next part. I believe that makes sense. So description, Then here we are saying this dot the description like that, and then here we have price. So here we say this price like that. Sorry, this is the end of this part here. Then here we're going to have this something like this. I believe there is okay. So once this is done, so here there are waits so that it can post the data into backend. Then if the request is successful, then we are now going to do something like this. We're going to say this at router like this, and then you're going to say push. Uh, Now, what do you mean? So this at router push, this means we now return to the default page, and this should be the product list. So the product list, we are going to make it the other uh, tutorial, so that now we are able to see what has been submitted and what is in now the database. So here I'm going to have a catch in case we get any errors. So I'm going to append this error keyword here. And then here we're going to have console.error. Then here we're going to have this. So we're going to say an error occurred while adding the product. So we have something like that. So we have this. Then we now show the error. So we now show the error there, just like that. So this should be 4 of them. So this should be that way. This should be 3. So this is okay. So let's see, there is an error coming from this part here on the try. Okay, so actually this is an if statement here. So I forgot just to put this part here because it's an if statement here. Right, guys. So that is it. So let me say this, and if there are anything that we forgot, then we should be able to correct it. Now you need to have your postman ready. I have mine here. If you are following up. So last time we did on the login and log out and all that. So here now we're going to make a post request. But before actually, now the reason is I have the postman here is just to test to know that we successfully submitted any data to our database. Okay, now so let's do this. So what I need to do here, I need just to start this application. Let me just open the git bash. Okay, so here what I'm going to do, of course, is just to run the npm sum so that we can see what is happening. Okay, so this is what we have. So we can come here and run this so that we can see our application. So if there are any errors, remember this is now the add. Actually, before we do that, there's something now we need to do. So that's once that this is now established, there's something now we need to do. So I want us we go to our router.js. Now within our router.js, we need to add this. So we need to add this. So within our router.js, this is what we need to do. So here I'll just need to copy this. Then here I need to have this. So here, remember we have the add product. So actually I was almost forgetting this. So add product like this. Now remember this is add product view. So that's how we defined it. So add product, and then what we are doing here, we're importing the add product from the add product dot view. So here we're going to have this add product, that is import add product from components, then add product dot view. Now here we need to establish this route here. So what I'm going to do here, let's do this. So down here I'm going to copy that one and paste it there. Now this add product here is we are going to give it a path. That is, you're going to give it a path so that it can be discoverable. So here we're going to have add product like this, and then down here we're going to have add product this way. Now so the component here is going to be add product, of course, because we already have it. So the add product. Now what you need to know here, name is just a nickname. Then add product is the path to where now we want to get into. For example, when you type slash add product, we're able to find the product. Now this public meta, we're going to mark it as false, and in this, the reason we are doing this is because we mark this route as private so that no one can be able to access it unless is logged in. So it has to be public false. So we need to have that, and then you can go ahead and save that. Now, the next item we need to do is we need to go to the navbar. Then within the navbar here, we have different items here. So let me just show you this. Now here you can see here we have is logged in and is logged in. Basically what it means that we are conditionally rendering different is logged in state. Now remember we defined the store.js whereby we are able to give different state. For example, when the person is logged in, we give it is state is logged in, give it to be true. For example, if the person is logged out, we give it false. In this case here, what we are doing here, we're going to define for the add product only. We're also going to add the rest for the other components. But in this case, let's do it for the add product. So I'm just going to copy this and then edit some few things. So here, what we're going to do here is that on this one here, we're just going to change this one. Remember, we gave it the add product. So we gave it this. So I'm going to append that one there. So slash add product. And then here, I'm going to change this to add product. So add product like that. So the add product is going to be that one like that. And then the router link is going to take us into that. Right. Now, when we say is logged in, basically we mean that when the person is logged in, we are going to make sure that the person is able to access the add component, which is now this one. Now, in analogy, the add product could be, for example, the door that when the person opens, you find what is actually behind that door. So that is what the add product simply is here. So that is what we have it. So let's save that one. So let's run this and then check. So we have this. So now if I come here, we have the logged in. All right, guys. So this is not okay. So when I click login here, you can see there's some errors which are coming here. The errors simply means that here we need to there are errors here within our console. So this means I have not started my Laravel. So let me quickly start my Laravel. I have my Laravel set up here, and then of course I have my Vue.js on this part. So on this one here, so let's try to load this, and then let me just log in again. Hoping these are the correct credentials. So now when I click login in, so we have the logout, but I can't see the add product component. So let's see, I believe on the router. All right, guys. So what you need to know that is that just a typo here. So here, this V basically means that if this person is either logged in or not. So if is logged in, then you should access the add product, which is now this route. So what you need to know here, you don't need to have that one there. And then these ones you need to have them, because if the person is not logged in, then we have made this one to be true. That is on our router.js here. Okay, so as you can see now, when the person is logged in, we are able to access this. Now let me go to the inspect so that we can check if we'll find any errors. That is, if our add product is working as expected. So when I click add product, we are able now to access the form. So let me just try to add some data here. So for example, let's add something like a bread. So the product name, bread, something like my bread. Okay, let me just get some, say it costs this amount. Then you try to add. Right. So now when we add that, when we add the product, you can see now it has taken us to the home page, and we are going to add this home page here because now it can't find this particular component here. So what we shall do here, for us to know if this data has been added successfully, we can come here, and then here we type products. So here we have something like this, and then here we want to do a get because now we want to get. So let's run this and let's see from our API. So the status code is 200, which means everything went well. So the one that we added was bread, with my bread, and then just the price. So this tells you that we have successfully added product from our Vue component. So in the next one, we shall deal is with the product. That is, it's the product list, whereby we are going to be able to list a product within our application. Now, in other words, you're going to be able to see whatever we have added.